The air inside the scrapyard hung thick with the smell of burnt circuits and scorched metal. Sparks crackled along the workbench as Mara adjusted her welding torch, her hands moving with a precision that betrayed years of experience in this dusty, forgotten corner of the universe. The sun outside burned red against the horizon, slicing through jagged metal towers like molten knives, painting everything in shades of copper and blood. She crouched over a broken robot, a hulking machine that looked more dead than alive. Its armor was dented, wires spilled like veins across the floor, and one of its optical sensors flickered weakly, struggling against the darkness. Mara's fingers traced the damaged circuits, feeling every groove and fracture, her mind calculating pathways and solutions faster than any AI she had ever encountered. "This is not just another heap of junk," she muttered, the torch reflecting in her eyes like twin stars. "You were built for something bigger than this scrap heap." She worked for hours, sweat dripping down her temple, her tools clanging and sparks flying. Outside, the desert winds howled to the skeletal remains of ships and satellites, carrying the distant roar of alien predators that had claimed countless explorers before her. Every sound reminded her of the dangers beyond her little workshop, yet she did not flinch. Humans had survived far worse, and she was human to her core, resilient, cunning, and unbroken. Finally, with a final twist of the circuit and a surge of energy, the robot shuddered. Its chest plate rose with a hiss of pneumatic pressure, and the dim optical sensors blazed into life. Mara stepped back, heart hammering. It was not just alive. It regarded her with an awareness that made the hairs on her neck stand straight. "Who am I?" The robot's voice echoed, deep and metallic, yet laced with curiosity. Mara wiped her hands on her oil-stained overalls. "You are what you make yourself," she replied softly, though the intensity in her eyes spoke of a warning. "The universe is not kind. It tests strength, courage, and wit, and you will face it with me or die trying." The robot's head tilted, processing. For the first time, Mara felt the weight of what she had done. This machine was not just a tool anymore. It had potential to be an ally, a companion, and perhaps something even greater. Before she could process further, a distant shadow cut across the red sky, a fleet of alien ships, their shapes jagged and unnatural, engines humming with a sound that rattled the bones. Mara's pulse quickened. The aliens were not curious. They hunted, they destroyed, they consumed. And yet, a strange thrill ran through her veins. Humans were the underdogs, but humans thrived on impossible odds. The robot stepped forward, joints creaking but powerful, shielding her from the heat of the sun that was now dipping behind a distant spire of broken satellites. Mara reached out, gripping its armored arm. "Listen closely," she said. "They will come, and when they do, we show them what humans can do." As the alien fleet descended, shadows stretching over the sands like an omen, Mara felt a fire in her chest. Every scraped knee, every sleepless night, every battle fought on planets that bled danger into her veins had led to this moment. She tightened her grip on her welding torch, now a weapon as much as a tool. Her eyes locked with the robot's, and in that silent exchange, a pact was forged. The ground trembled beneath the first salvo of alien energy beams. Mara dodged instinctively, feeling the heat lick her skin, her instincts sharper than any AI program. The robot pivoted, metal fists crashing into the first wave of drones, sparks flying with every collision. It was brute force combined with precision, a dance of survival choreographed by human ingenuity. And yet, the fight was only beginning. From a horizon, a shadow larger than any ship she had seen rose, a massive alien war construct, bristling with weapons that could vaporize cities. Mara inhaled sharply, senses alive. She whispered to the robot, "This is where humans shine. This is where we prove we are not just survivors, we are champions." As the first wave of the alien behemoth's fire tore across the sands, Mara knew one thing with certainty. The universe underestimated humanity, and that would be its greatest mistake. She ducked behind a rusted hulking tank, the robot following in perfect synchronization. The air smelled of ozone and fear, yet her mind raced with strategies, ideas, and possibilities. Every alien attack could be countered, every weakness exploited, and every moment of despair could be transformed into advantage. Mara's fingers brushed over the control panel. She had jury-rigged into the robot. A grin formed on her face. Dirt and oil streaked across it, and she whispered to herself, "Time to remind them why humans never stay down, why we fight, adapt, and conquer." The alien behemoth loomed like a mountain of metal and shadow, its weapons primed to turn the desert into molten glass. Mara's heart pounded, but fear did not root her to the spot. It never had. Humans thrived on challenges that crushed others under their weight. "Ready?" she asked, her voice steady, almost calm. The robot's eyes glowed brighter, a silent affirmation that it understood the gravity of the moment. She gripped the welding torch tighter, feeling the hum of energy running through it like a heartbeat synchronized with her own. The first strike hit the ground near them, throwing up sand and metal shards in a violent storm. Mara felt the heat on her face, smelled the scorched metal in the air, and tasted dust and adrenaline together on her tongue. She ducked, rolled, and emerged behind a pile of rubble, her mind already calculating angles, trajectories, and weak points. Every human survival instinct she had ever honed screamed in unison. Move, strike, survive. The robot leapt forward, a living battering ram of metal, smashing the smaller drones with precise blows that sent sparks flying like fireworks against the red sky. Its movements were not just mechanical. They were extensions of Mara's own strategies, the human touch infused into every servo and circuit she had repaired. The aliens had underestimated her, underestimated humans. They never learned. The behemoth fired a barrage of plasma energy, each bolt turning sand to glass and metal to molten slag. Mara dove into a hollowed-out engine block, the roar of destruction nearly deafening. Her fingers moved over the robot's control panel, her mind working faster than any supercomputer could, sending instructions in real time, adjusting its stance, shifting its center of gravity, timing its strikes. The robot pivoted, swinging its massive arms to deflect another wave of energy, sparks cascading like a shower of silver rain. Its armored fist slammed into one of the alien drones, tearing apart in a storm of twisting metal. Mara felt a thrill in her chest, a surge of pure human pride. This was what humans did. Where others saw hopeless odds, humans saw opportunity. Where others panicked, humans adapted. Where others died, humans thrived. The desert shook as the behemoth advanced, each step leaving craters in its wake. Mara's eyes narrowed as she noticed a faint seam along its undercarriage, where armor plates overlapped imperfectly, a flaw in the alien design. She grinned, her mind already forming a plan that relied not on brute force, but on cunning and precision. "Follow my lead," she whispered to the robot. The robot tilted its head, then charged, drawing the behemoth's attention away from Mara. She sprinted across the shattered terrain, every step measured, every breath calculated, feeling the pulse of the earth beneath her and the heat of danger pressing against her skin. She reached the seam and raised a welding torch like a sword of fire. The flame cut through the alien metal, smoke curling and hissing as it burned. A panel melted, revealing intricate alien circuits beneath, complex, but not impervious. Mara's hands flew over wires and nodes, connecting improvised circuits, rerouting energy and overriding systems with the audacity only a human mind could muster. The behemoth roared, sensing the intrusion, but was too late. A jolt of electricity surged through its body, sparking explosions along its legs, destabilizing its massive frame. The robot charged, delivering a crushing blow that sent it stumbling back. Sand and debris flew everywhere, and for a moment, silence fell over the battlefield, broken only by the distant cries of retreating drones. Mara wiped sweat and grime from her face, chest heaving, her senses alive with every vibration of the ground. She looked at the robot, now standing taller, stronger, its metallic frame gleaming with an almost human determination. "You see," she said, voice trembling with triumph and exhaustion, "we do not break. We do not bow. We do not surrender." Then, without warning, the ground beneath them shifted violently. A deep rumble echoed from beneath the desert, dust and sand erupting in massive columns. Mara's heart leapt. This was no ordinary battlefield. It was ancient. Long before humans had ever walked among the stars, this planet had been home to powers older than imagination. And now, Those powers stirred, awakened by the violence, awakened by the human presence. From the swirling sands emerged towering stone constructs, carved with runes that glow with otherworldly energy. They moved with deliberate menace, their eyes, if they had eyes, burning with an intelligence as old as the universe. Mara stepped back, awe and fear mixing in her veins. Most humans would have frozen. Most humans would have run. But she did not. The robot stepped in front of her, a protective wall of steel and fire. Mara's mind raced, scanning the constructs, understanding their patterns, noting weaknesses. They were formidable, but they were not invincible. Nothing was, not when humans were involved. She raised her voice, shouting to the robot, her words cutting through the roar of wind and sand. We fight smart. We fight together. They may be ancient, but we are human. The first construct struck, smashing the sand with a colossal foot. Mara rolled, barely avoiding being crushed, and activated the improvised weapons she had rigged on a robot. Energy blasts erupted, hitting the constructs in precise spots she had calculated, their glowing runes flickering under the impact. The robot followed, smashing, slashing, deflecting, its movements a perfect blend of raw power and human ingenuity. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. Every time the construct struck, Mara and the robot adapted. Every new alien threat that emerged, they countered with clever tactics and fearless determination. The desert became a canvas of chaos and human brilliance. Explosions painting the sky, sparks showering like fireworks, dust swirling in impossible patterns. And through it all, Mara and the robot moved as one. Then, at the heart of the battlefield, she saw it. A massive energy core, pulsing like a heartbeat in the desert, feeding both the constructs and the alien fleet. Destroy it, and perhaps the threat would collapse. But reaching it meant crossing open ground, under fire from every remaining alien drone and construct. Mara's fingers brushed the robot's arm. "Trust me," she said. The robot's optical sensors flared, a silent promise of loyalty and courage. Together, they charged. Sand whipped around them like a storm, alien fire cutting streaks of orange and blue through the haze. Mara's heart pounded in her chest, but her mind was clear. She adjusted the robot's path mid-charge, using its momentum to deflect incoming blasts. She ducked, rolled, and sprinted, the welding torch now a weapon, a beacon, and a key. A drone struck the robot, sending it crashing, but Mara leapt onto its back, stabilizing it, guiding it with a deft touch that no machine alone could replicate. Together, they reached the energy core. Mara jammed the torch into a panel, rerouted energy, and with a thunderous explosion, the core erupted, sending a shockwave across the battlefield. The constructs faltered, the alien ships faltered, and for the first time, the desert fell silent. Dust and smoke hung in the air like a curtain, revealing the aftermath. Destroyed drones, shattered constructs, and a human mechanic standing victorious beside a robot she had saved from scrap. Mara's chest heaved, her body trembling from exhaustion and exhilaration. The robot lowered its arm, allowing her to step down. Its optical sensors glowed softly, almost human in their warmth. "You did it," it said. Mara smiled, dirt and sweat streaking her face, and she looked out across the desert, now calm and eerily beautiful in the aftermath of battle. "No," she said softly, almost to herself. "We did it. Humanity always does." And in that moment, Mara knew something profound. This was not the end. It never would be. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unforgiving. But humans with courage, intelligence, and indomitable spirit could face it all. Every planet, every alien threat, every impossible challenge. It was not a death sentence. It was an opportunity. And Mara, the simple mechanic, had proven it, not through machines or alien technology, but through the human heart, the human mind, and the unbreakable that defined her species. The wind whispered across the desert, carrying the scent of burnt metal and victory. Mara lifted her face to the red sun, feeling the heat and light, tasting the freedom and triumph. The robot stepped beside her, a silent sentinel, a partner in the ongoing battle against a universe that underestimated humans at every turn. And somewhere deep in the shadows of the stars, unseen eyes watched, calculating, curious, and perhaps fearful. for they had witnessed the truth. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were legends in the making, and legends could not be stopped, could not be broken, and could never be tamed. Mara's hands tightened around the welding torch once more. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. Her voice carried across the barren desert, fierce, resolute, and alive. "The universe thinks it can challenge us. It has no idea what it is up against." The robot sensors pulsed, synchronized with her heartbeat. Together, they turned toward the horizon, where new threats awaited, where ancient powers slept, and where the impossible waited to be conquered. And Mara smiled because she knew, with every fiber of her being, that humans, ordinary humans, were capable of extraordinary feats. The stars above shimmered like distant beacons, the universe vast and dangerous, yet filled with opportunity. And Mara, the mechanic who had breathed life into a broken machine, knew one thing with unwavering certainty. Humanity would rise. Humanity would endure. The desert was quiet now, but Mara did not relax. Victory was temporary. She could feel it in the vibrations of the earth, in the subtle hum of the air, and in the shifting shadows along the jagged horizon. The universe was alive, watching, waiting. The robot crouched beside her, its sensors scanning the endless dunes for movement. Mara traced her fingers over the grooves of its armor, still warm from the battle, still alive with energy and purpose. "I do not know what comes next," she whispered, voice low, "but we face it as humans always do, head-on, clever, unbroken." A distant rumble echoed across the sands. Not the behemoth, not the drones. Something far larger, older, and infinitely more deliberate. The ground beneath Mara's boots trembled. Her instinct screamed, warning her of forces beyond imagination. Then, from the horizon, a massive shape emerged. Not a ship, not a drone, but something organic, pulsating with light and shadow, towering over the dunes like a god of old legends. Its skin shimmered, like liquid crystal rippling over sinew and metal, and its eyes burned like twin suns, intelligent, ancient, and merciless. Mara swallowed hard, tasting dust and adrenaline, yet her spine remained rigid with determination. Fear was a tool, not a cage. The robot shifted beside her, moving with uncanny awareness of her unspoken commands. Mara's mind raced, calculating distances, velocities, and the unknown powers that shimmered before her. Humans thrived where others failed, not because they were stronger, but because they adapted, improvised, and dared when others would flee. The colossal being moved forward, each step sending shockwaves through the desert, fracturing rock and sand alike. Mara could feel the vibration in her chest, in her bones. And yet, even as the terror pressed against her, she smiled. Humanity had faced extinction countless times and had survived. Why should this be any different? She raised her welding torch, its flame steady in her hand, its heat a small comfort against the immense presence of the alien entity. The robot mirrored her stance, metallic limbs poised, servos humming with potential energy. They were an unlikely pair, human and machine, but together they were more than the sum of their parts. They were defiance incarnate. The being spoke, not with words, but with a resonance that shook the air itself. Visions flashed in Mara's mind. Worlds consumed, civilizations erased, stars collapsing under the weight of 1,000 centuries. Yet through the chaos, she felt a spark, a possibility, a weakness, a chance. Humans saw patterns others missed. Humans saw hope where others only saw doom. "You think," she whispered to the robot, "that power alone will win? You are wrong. Humans survive with intelligence, courage, and heart." The robot lunged forward, drawing the attention of the creature. Its massive arms smashed through dunes, throwing sand and clouds that glittered like fire in the fading sun. Mara ran alongside, dodging falling debris, leaping over fissures that opened with each step of the alien god. She tapped into every skill she had ever learned: mechanics, strategy, improvisation, pure instinct. The universe had tested her before, and she had survived. It would test her again and again, and she would rise. The alien reached for her, its immense hand slicing the air where she had stood moments before. Mara rolled, feeling the heat and force pass over her like a wall of flame. Her breathing was sharp, precise, every inhalation a calculation of distance, timing, and chance. She reached the robot's side, placing a hand on the exposed circuitry they had patched together, whispering instructions it could not have predicted. Together, human and machine created something more than a weapon. They created a strategy, a plan that no alien could anticipate. The robot fainted, drawing the creature's attention, then pivoted with Mara atop its back, guiding it toward the glowing seam Mara had spotted along the being's side. Her pulse raced, every nerve alive with tension and excitement. She drove the welding torch into the seam, sparks flying as energy arcs danced along alien flesh and metal. The creature screamed, not in sound, but in vibration, in sheer force, sending shockwaves across the desert. Mara held on, heart hammering, every muscle screaming as the alien stumbled, its immense weight threatening to crush them both. The robot shifted under her, adapting, compensating, as if it understood the essence of human courage and will. Together, they pressed their advantage, exploiting a flaw, a pattern, a rhythm that no other species can anticipate. The being roared again, energy flaring from its core, but the humans did not falter. Mara guided the robot with calculated precision, dodging attacks, striking with improvised weapons, using ingenuity to turn the odds. Where raw strength failed, intelligence prevailed. Where fear could paralyze, determination drove them forward. Then, with a surge of brilliance, Mara redirected the torch's energy into a conduit of alien circuitry, overloading it. The being convulsed, thrashing wildly, sand and debris flying like a storm. The robot slammed into it with every ounce of force, driving it back, destabilizing it. Mara leapt from its back, using momentum to land directly on the creature's chest, her torch a beacon of human audacity. She drove it deeper, cutting, burning, bending technology and flesh together, forcing the entity to adapt to something no alien had ever encountered, human creativity and fearlessness. The desert quaked, the sky flared, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then the creature collapsed, staggering, weakened but not destroyed. Mara landed gracefully, chest heaving, sweat and dust mingling on her skin. The robot stood beside her, sensors scanning for any remaining threats. Every human instinct in her body screamed. This was far from over. From a horizon, smaller ships emerged, alien in design, jagged and dark against the crimson sky. Mara grinned, a dangerous thrill sparking in her chest. "Bring it on," she whispered, voice carrying over sands. "They do not understand. They never will. Humans are not defined by fear. Humans are defined by what we dare to do when everyone else thinks we cannot." The robot mirrored her expression, if it had one, steel and light gleaming as it prepared to fight again. Together, they charged the incoming swarm, every step measured, every movement precise. The aliens fired, beams of energy slicing through the air, but Mara ducked and weaved, her body a blur of human agility. The robot followed, smashing, deflecting, creating openings with every calculated strike. Human strategy, human improvisation, human courage. It was unmatched. Where technology alone would fail, human intuition prevailed. The battle raged across the desert for hours, or perhaps minutes, the passage of time lost in the chaos. Mara fought not just for survival, but for proof that humans could stand against the impossible, against ancient powers and alien empires. Each maneuver, each strike, each daring leap was a declaration to the universe. Humans were not to be underestimated. Then, above the roar of engines and alien fire, a voice echoed in Mara's mind. Not the robots, not alien, but something far older. It whispered of choice, of judgment, of paths unseen. And Mara understood. The universe was testing her species not just with brute force, but with intellect, courage, and the capacity for creativity under unimaginable pressure. She smiled, wiping blood and dust from her cheek. "Yes," she whispered, her voice steady, resolute. "Humans do not bend. Humans do not break. Humans do not surrender." The swarm faltered. The alien forces hesitated, sensing something in Mara, in the robot, in the human spirit that defied prediction. And in that moment, the impossible seemed not only possible, but inevitable. Humans would endure. Humans would adapt. Humans would rise. The robot turned to her, its sensors glowing like a promise. Mara placed a hand on its arm. "Together," she said, "always together. We are humans. We survive. We thrive. We conquer." The alien fleet retreated, the ground still shaking from the immense energies unleashed. But Mara knew the threats would return, larger, smarter, and more dangerous. And she would be ready, because humans did not wait for the universe to bend to them. They shaped it with courage, intelligence, and unbreakable will. She looked at the horizon, red sun dipping behind the jagged spires of the desert. A storm of dust and fire still swirling. The desert settled into an uneasy calm. But Mara did not move from her stance. Her chest heaved, lungs burning, sweat and dust clinging to her skin, yet her eyes never left the horizon. Every grain of sand whispered of danger. Every shadow suggested a lurking predator. The universe had no mercy, and she had learned the hard way that survival demanded constant vigilance. The robot stood beside her, its armor scarred but functional. Servos humming softly, a metallic heartbeat in the midst of the barren expanse. Mara's hands hovered over the controls she had welded into its system, fingers itching to adjust, tweak, and optimize. Humans had always triumphed not because they were stronger or faster, but because they saw possibilities where others saw impossibilities. From the far edge of the desert, a ripple of energy shimmered, bending light, warping reality itself. Mara squinted, her mind immediately scanning, calculating. Her senses flared, adrenaline sharpening every nerve. This was not a standard threat, nor was it a physical assault. It was something older, something that had watched the stars before humans had even left their homeworld. The robot stepped forward, its massive frame a shield, senses glowing in anticipation. Mara gritted her teeth, boots sinking slightly into the sand, wind whipping around them, carrying the faint metallic tang of distant destruction. The energy ripple became a shape, a massive, undulating vessel of organic design, its hull glimmering like 1,000 shards of obsidian. It moved with intent, slow but deliberate, a predator that had calculated the weakness of its prey. Mara's heart thundered, yet she did not flinch. She had faced odds that would have shattered any other human mind. The universe tested humans not to crush them, but to see what they were capable of under extreme conditions. And she would not disappoint. "Look at it," she whispered to the robot, voice steady, even in the face of such monumental scale. "They think power alone will dominate. We will show them strategy, adaptability, and courage. We will show them what it means to be human." The vessel fired, and the desert erupted in chaos. Blasts of energy cut across the dunes, sand and rock thrown into the air like molten sparks. Mara dug behind a fractured spire, wind tearing at her hair, ears ringing with the reverberation of impact. The robot moved in tandem, deflecting attacks, creating openings in the storm of destruction. Mara's hands danced over the control panel, rerouting power, calibrating the robot's weapons, improvising on the fly. Each adjustment, each command, relied on instinct honed over years of survival and battle. Humans thrived where machines alone would falter, because humans could adapt in moments that required genius born of necessity. The alien vessel descended, massive tendrils extending from its hull, reaching toward the desert floor, crushing dunes and sending clouds of sand into the sky. Mara leapt onto the robot's back, adjusting its trajectory, dodging debris that could have torn her apart. Her mind raced, every second filled with calculations, possibilities, contingencies. She could feel the pulse of the desert, the energy of the alien craft, the heartbeat of the robot beneath her. Everything interwoven in a symphony of survival. The tendrils struck, and the robot met them with brute strength and precise timing, metal clashing against alien bio-armor. Sparks flew, energy flared, and Mara felt the vibrations surge through her, almost as if the desert itself were alive and urging them forward. Her breath came in sharp, measured gasps, each one fueling clarity and audacity. Humans survived by daring when others froze, by thinking when others panicked, by acting when others hesitated. The robot roared, a mechanical sound amplified by human ingenuity, and smashed a tendril, sending the vessel lurching. Mara clung, riding the movement, and spotted a weak point, an energy core pulsating beneath layers of alien biometal. She smiled grimly. This was how humans won, by finding the impossible and making it achievable. She adjusted the torch, calibrating it with improvised circuits, turning it into a weapon capable of piercing the alien hull. Her fingers worked with the precision of a surgeon, mind racing faster than any AI protocol could. The robot followed her every adjustment, moving like a living extension of human strategy and cunning. Together, they were not just fighting, they were rewriting the rules of engagement. The vessel reacted, tendrils lashing, energy beams slicing to sand, but Mara had anticipated every move. She guided the robot in a dance of destruction and survival, exploiting patterns in the alien vessel's attacks, creating openings with a blend of instinct and calculation. Every human skill, every lesson learned on countless worlds, was concentrated into these moments. Finally, she reached the core. The welding torch flared brighter, energy surging to the improvised conduits, burning, cutting, piercing. The alien vessel shrieked, not in sound, but in a psychic wave that rattled the desert and nearly overwhelmed Mara's senses. She held firm, focusing heart steady, mind clear. Humans thrive where others crumbled, because humans had courage and the unyielding will to survive. The core exploded in a cascade of light and energy, sending shock waves through the desert, shaking the alien vessel to its foundations. The tendrils flailed, the hull buckled, and for the first time, the vessel faltered, vulnerable and staggering. The robot slammed into it with every ounce of strength, driving it back, and Mara leapt from its back, torch in hand, striking with precision that only a human could achieve. Silence fell, broken only by the distant rumble of retreating alien forces. The desert lay in ruins, scarred by the battle, yet alive with the proof of human ingenuity and resilience. Mara stood, chest heaving, dust and sweat streaking her face, and looked at the robot beside her. "You see," she whispered, "this is what humans do. We survive. We fight. We win against impossible odds." The robot's sensors pulsed, almost with emotion, a silent acknowledgement of the bond forged in fire and battle. Together, they had turned destruction into triumph, fear into strategy, chaos into victory. And the universe had taken notice. Above, the stars glimmered, distant and indifferent, yet they seemed to pulse with the memory of what had occurred. Mara's mind raced, already anticipating the next threat, the next challenge, the next test. For the universe never rested, and neither would humans. She wiped grime from her hands, fingers brushing over the welding torch that had become more than a tool. It was a symbol of human adaptability, of intelligence forged under pressure, of courage tested in fire. She looked to the horizon, where the sun bled into the sky, red and fierce, and whispered, "Bring it on. We are human. We survive. We thrive." From the depths of space, new vessels appeared, alien and unfamiliar, their designs predatory and deliberate. Mara smiled, chest tight with excitement and determination. This was what humans were born for, not comfort, not safety, but the challenge, the impossible, the unknown. The robot stepped beside her, a silent promise of strength and loyalty. Mara raised her welding torch, its flame dancing in the wind, and shouted across the desert, voice carrying with defiance and certainty. "We are humans. We are ingenuity. We are courage. We are unstoppable." The alien ships faltered at the sound, sensing the unyielding spirit radiating from a human standing alone on a desert scarred by war, flanked by a machine she had revived from scrap. The robot sensors pulsed brighter, synchronized with her heartbeat. Together, they charged into the unknown, ready to face any challenge, any enemy, any impossible threat. The universe had underestimated humans for millennia. It would not make the same mistake twice. Every step, every strike, every calculation was a testament to the human mind, human spirit, and human heart. Mara, the simple mechanic, had proven it once again. Humans were not just survivors. They were champions, creators, and legends in the making. And the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to witness what humans could achieve next. The robot moved beside her, a silent companion in the ongoing battle against the impossible. Mara tightened her grip on the welding torch, eyes blazing, mind calculating, body ready. The desert stretched before them, endless and full of danger. Yet for the first time, Mara felt exhilaration rather than fear. This was humanity's domain, the crucible where ordinary individuals became extraordinary. She whispered to the robot, almost as if sharing a secret. The universe thinks it can break us. It will learn. It will always learn. And as the first of the new alien vessels descended, dark against the blood-red sky, Mara smiled. The battle would rage on. The challenges would grow. But humans would rise above them all. Because humans adapted. Humans endured. Humans conquered. And Mara, standing tall on the scarred sands, knew one truth with unwavering certainty. No matter what the cosmos sent, humanity would prevail. The desert was littered with the scars of battle. Dunes shattered, sand blackened by energy blasts, and the scent of scorched metal hanging thick in the air. Mara's lungs burned, yet she felt alive in a way that only true danger could bring. She could taste the grit of the desert on her tongue, feel the heat radiating from the broken alien hulls, and hear the distant wail of retreating alien engines carried by the wind. Every fiber of her body thrummed with adrenaline, her mind sharper than any AI program, her instincts honed by survival against odds that would have destroyed lesser humans. The robot stood beside her, taller now, more imposing, with fresh scratches and dents that told of its trials and triumphs. Its optical sensors glowed softly, a pulse of understanding and readiness. Mara ran her hand along the metal surface, feeling the warmth of its circuits, the resonance of the machine's heartbeat, a heartbeat she had nurtured from scrap. She whispered, almost reverently, "We make a good team, you and I, stronger than any alien threat, smarter than anything they can calculate." From a horizon, the sky shimmered, unnatural waves bending light. Mara squinted, her mind racing. The ripples coalesced into massive forms, towering, angular, alien ships unlike any she had encountered. They moved with intelligence, formations precise, weapons primed, and their approach carried the quiet menace of inevitability. Most would panic, but humans did not. Humans survived by thinking, by daring, by turning the impossible into opportunity. The first of the alien fleet fired, plasma beams cutting across the desert like rivers of molten fire. Mara dug behind a jagged spire, sand exploding around her from impacts, wind tearing at her hair and clothes. She caught her breath, scanning, calculating, feeling the pulse of the battle in every nerve ending. She spotted patterns in the alien movements, weak points in their formation that no automated system could exploit. Humans thrived on unpredictability. Where AI relied on pre-programmed responses, humans adapted in real time. The robot shifted beside her, its massive limbs moving like extensions of her own body, senses attuned to her commands, every servo and motor synchronized with her intent. Mara adjusted the controls she had welded into its system, rerouting energy, calibrating weapons, improvising modifications on the fly. The first strike of the alien fleet collided with the robot's armored frame, sparks flying, metal screeching, yet it held firm. Humans endured. Humans innovated. Humans overcame. With a sharp whistle of determination, Mara leapt onto the robot's back. "Follow my lead," she shouted, voice cutting through the storm of energy blasts. The robot pivoted, rolling over dunes, smashing alien drones that tried to flank them, creating openings with sheer brute force combined with human ingenuity. Mara guided its trajectory, dodging debris, anticipating enemy attacks, improvising maneuvers that would have been impossible for a machine alone. She spotted the flagship, a massive, dark vessel pulsing with energy, bristling with weapons, and seemingly impervious. Most would have fled, but Mara did not hesitate. She calculated its weak points, the rhythms of its fire, and the patterns in its movement. A human mind could see beyond brute force. It could exploit, deceive, and strike with precision born of courage and intelligence. The robot leapt onto a dune, then launched itself toward a flagship, crushing drones in its path. Mara's hands flew over the improvised control panel, sending real-time adjustments, rerouting energy, creating a symphony of destruction. Energy beams from the alien flagship struck around them, sending sand and debris into the air like a storm of sparks. Mara ducked, rolled, and kept moving, exhilaration mingling with fear and focus. This was what humans were made for. turning chaos into strategy, danger into opportunity. She saw a vulnerable panel along the flagship's side, pulsating with energy. Her heart surged with a dangerous thrill. "This is it," she whispered to the robot, her fingers steady on the controls. "Together we end this." The robot surged forward, Mara adjusting its path mid-flight, avoiding massive energy blasts that would have vaporized ordinary beings. She leapt from its back, welding torch in hand, aiming at the pulsating panel. The alien flagship reacted, but humans thrived on unpredictability. She drove the torch deep, energy surging through alien circuits, sparks flying, fire exploding, and a shockwave ripping across the desert. The flagship convulsed, tendrils of alien energy flaring wildly. Mara landed on the sand, rolling to absorb the impact, adrenaline screaming through her veins. The robot slammed into the flagship, using every ounce of its power to destabilize the colossal vessel. For the first time, it faltered, vulnerable and staggering under the combined force of human ingenuity and machine might. Mara's mind raced, calculating the final strike. She realized the energy core pulsing inside the vessel was overloading, a feedback loop she could manipulate. She connected the torch to improvised conduits, channeling energy, forcing the alien systems into chaos. The flagship shuddered violently, thrusters misfiring, weapons erupting in uncontrolled bursts. Then, a blinding explosion lit the sky, throwing sand and metal into the air. Mara shielded her eyes, hearing the roar in her chest as the flagship convulsed, the pulse of its energy core collapsing in on itself. The robot stood firm beside her, every movement precise, every servo humming with coordinated efficiency. Together, they had achieved the impossible. The alien fleet scattered, smaller ships retreating, broken and scattered like toys. Mara dropped to her knees, chest heaving, dust and sweat covering her skin, but a smile spread across her face. Humans survived. Humans triumphed. Humans endured against impossible odds. She looked at the robot, sensors glowing faintly, and whispered, "We did it. Humans do not break. Humans do not bow. Humans do not surrender." The desert settled into an uneasy calm, stars beginning to shimmer in the deepening red sky. Mara rose, brushing off debris, and felt something she had not felt in a long time, exhilaration mingled with purpose. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unforgiving, but humans had proven again that they could thrive where others failed. A distant hum began to echo across the dunes. Mara's brow furrowed, scanning the horizon. This was not over. The energy of the alien flagship had triggered something else, something massive, ancient, and aware. Shadows stretched across the desert, deeper than darkness itself, and the wind carried whispers of things that had slumbered for eons. Mara's pulse surged, every nerve alive with anticipation. Fear was present, but it did not control her. Humans turned fear into strategy, danger into opportunity. From the horizon, massive structures began to rise, ancient alien constructs, carved from obsidian and crystal, glowing with intelligence older than any star she had ever seen. They moved with deliberate menace, stepping across the desert with the weight of eons. Mara clenched her fists, eyes blazing with determination. "The universe keeps trying," she whispered. "But humans keep rising." The robot crouched beside her, prepared for the next wave, sensors glowing in anticipation. Mara adjusted its systems, rerouting energy, preparing improvised weapons, adapting in real time to threats no one else could face. The constructs were powerful, ancient beyond measure, but humans thrived on adaptability and ingenuity. Humans survived where others would perish. The first construct struck, crushing dunes beneath its colossal feet. Mara dove, rolling into the sand, feeling every vibration through her boots. She leapt onto the robot's back, guiding its trajectory, dodging energy beams and crushing debris. Together, they moved like a single organism, human mind and mechanical might intertwined, executing maneuvers impossible for any alien prediction. Mara's mind raced, calculating weak points, anticipating movements, improvising strategies that relied not on power but on intellect and courage. She realized the constructs drew energy from nodes hidden beneath their armor, pulsing like hearts. "This is it," she whispered. "Focus on the nodes." Human ingenuity wins where brute force fails. The robot struck with precision, smashing limbs and deflecting blows, while Mara directed energy and fire toward nodes. Cracks spread across alien armor, energy sputtering, constructs faltering. Mara leapt, welding torch blazing, striking node after node, sparks flying, the desert erupting in chaos. The construct staggered, powerful yet vulnerable to the daring of humans unafraid to exploit the impossible. Finally, the largest construct toppled, sending a shockwave across the desert. Mara fell to her knees, heart pounding, chest heaving, dust and sweat mingling on her skin. The robot stood beside her, sensors pulsing faintly, as if acknowledging the triumph born of human ingenuity and courage. From the horizon, more alien forms emerged, ships, drones, constructs, but Mara's eyes burned with certainty. Humans thrived where others perished. Humans endured where others failed. Humans conquered what was thought unconquerable. She raised her welding torch high, the flame dancing the wind, a symbol of human defiance and intelligence. "Bring it on!" she shouted, voice carrying across the dunes. "They do not understand. They never will. Humans do not break. Humans do not bow. Humans survive, adapt, and rise." The alien forces paused, sensing the unyielding spirit radiating from a human standing alone in the desert, flanked by a robot she had saved from scrap. And Mara knew this was only the beginning. The universe had underestimated humans again, and humans would prove time and again that they were unstoppable. She grinned, chest heaving, eyes blazing as the robot moved beside her. The desert stretched endlessly, filled with new threats, ancient powers, and impossible challenges. But Mara, the simple mechanic who had repaired a broken robot, understood the truth more clearly than ever. Humans were extraordinary. Humans were unstoppable. And humans would rise to meet any challenge, no matter how impossible. The stars above shimmered with silent witness, the universe vast and dangerous, yet ready to learn one unyielding truth. Humans, ordinary yet extraordinary, would endure, adapt, and conquer, forever reshaping the cosmos with courage, ingenuity, and heart. And Mara, standing tall on the scarred sands, torch blazing, robot at her side, smiled with unshakable certainty. The desert lay silent, the echoes of battle fading like the last notes of storm. Mara stood atop a dune, welding torch in hand, her breathing steady but heavy, each inhale tasting of dust, sweat, and victory. The robot crouched beside her, metal polished by fire and battle, sensors glowing faintly in the dimming light. Together, they surveyed the aftermath, broken alien ships, scattered drones, shattered constructs, and dunes scarred by energy and determination. The universe had tried to crush them, to overwhelm them, to erase the mark of humanity. It had failed. Mara's hand shook slightly, exhaustion mixing with exhilaration, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the horizon for the next threat. She could feel it. The pull of the cosmos, ancient powers stirring, alien intelligence calculating, and new dangers forming beyond the red haze of the desert sky. And yet she smiled. Humans thrive where others faltered, survive where others perished, and triumph when the odds seemed impossible. Her species had endured millennia of catastrophe, wars, and cosmic horrors, always adapting, always learning, always rising. The robot sensors shifted, a low hum vibrating through its frame. Mara traced a finger along the grooves she had welded together, remembering the hours spent repairing circuits, bending broken metal into life, and infusing this machine with purpose. "I did not just fix you," she whispered softly, almost to herself. "You became part of what makes humans unstoppable." From the distant horizon, a faint shimmer of movement caught her eye. The alien forces were retreating, but their presence lingered like a warning. Most species would have fled entirely, broken by the display of human ingenuity and courage. Humans, however, did not rely on brute strength alone. They relied on intelligence, intuition, and the will to survive. Mara adjusted the robot systems, rerouting power to defensive circuits, repairing minor structural damage, and improvising enhancements even as the dust settled. The desert sun began to sink, bleeding red into the sky, casting elongated shadows across dunes and debris. Mara's eyes followed the light, seeing not desolation, but opportunity. Every battle, every victory, every life lost or machine salvage was a lesson, a calculation, a blueprint for survival in an indifferent universe. Humans did not wait for luck or mercy. They created their own chances. The robot stepped forward, massive feet pressing into sand, sending ripples across the landscape. Mara followed, torch held high, scanning for anomalies, anticipating threats. Even now, with the battlefield quiet, the pulse of the universe resonated in every vibration to the desert floor. Ancient powers, long dormant, had stirred in response to the conflict, and Mara felt it, a mixture of awe, fear, and exhilaration. Humans had awakened something far older than themselves, yet they were not afraid. She remembered every challenge she had faced, repairing the broken robot, surviving ambushes, outsmarting alien fleets, and turning desperation into victory. Each trial had forged her mind sharper, her courage stronger, her understanding of humanity's potential clearer. It was not brute force that won battles, nor sheer numbers, nor alien superiority. It was ingenuity, adaptability, and audacity. Humans embodied these traits in a way no machine or ancient being could replicate. Mara crouched beside the robot, examining the final remnants of alien technology scattered across the sand. Her fingers brushed over circuits, wires, and panels, tracing patterns and anticipating hidden energies. Even broken, the technology spoke to her mind, and she realized something profound. Humans could adapt to anything, manipulate anything, and turn the impossible into the achievable. The alien intelligence that had calculated strategy for centuries had failed to predict a simple human mechanic, and a repaired robot could change the tide of war. The sun dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky a tapestry of crimson, violet, and starlight. Mara raised her torch one last time, the flame a beacon, not of destruction, but of defiance. "The universe thinks it can crush us," she whispered, "but it does not understand humans. We survive, we adapt, we rise, and we will never stop." The robot shifted beside her, servos humming softly, almost like a heartbeat in time with her own. Mara placed her hand on its shoulder, feeling the warmth of energy coursing through it, a resonance of life that she had created from nothing but scraps. "We are more than machines, more than flesh, more than mere survival," she said. "We are humans. We are ingenuity, courage, and heart combined. We define what is possible." In the distance, the remaining alien vessels withdrew into the void, leaving trails of iridescent energy that shimmered like ghosts. Mara's eyes followed them, calculating trajectories, anticipating the day they might return. But she was unafraid. Humans were never defined by fear. They were defined by audacity, intellect, and will. She walked across the desert, torch held high, each step a declaration. The robot followed, an extension of human ingenuity, proof that even the broken could become extraordinary with courage and intelligence. Every scar in the sand, every dent in metal, every flash of light from a failed alien attack was a testament to human resilience. The universe had thrown everything at them, yet they had endured, and in surviving they had thrived. Mara paused atop a dune, looking back at the battlefield. She felt the weight of history, of survival, of countless humans who had faced extinction and had overcome. And she felt a profound connection to all of them, the engineers, the explorers, the dreamers, the warriors. They had survived because they dared to think, dared to act, and dared to defy the impossible. The robot knelt beside her, sensors glowing softly in the gathering twilight. Mara reached out, placing a hand on its arm, a silent acknowledgement of partnership, loyalty, and triumph. "You are not just a machine," she said. "You are proof that humans leave their mark, that intelligence and courage can breathe life into anything, even the broken, even the impossible." From the horizon, faint lights shimmered, distant stars, potential threats, opportunities waiting in the void. Mara's chest heaved, not with fear, but with exhilaration. She had faced death, alien intelligence, ancient constructs, and the impossible itself. And she had endured. She had triumphed. She had proven the universe wrong, yet again. The desert wind whispered across dunes, carried with it the scent of victory, dust, and possibilities. Mara's gaze lifted to stars, mind alight with calculation and wonder. The universe was vast and different and dangerous, yet humans had always found a way. They had turned adversity into advantage, chaos into strategy, and impossible into achievement. She turned to the robot, whose sensors glowed warmly, reflecting the last light of the setting sun. "Together," she said, voice steady and resolute, "we are unstoppable. No matter what comes, no matter the odds, no matter the universe itself, we endure. We rise. We conquer." The robot's mechanical frame seemed to affirm her words, a silent promise of loyalty, strength, and collaboration. Mara's mind raced, imagining the future. Planets unexplored, civilizations to challenge, threats to overcome, knowledge to acquire. Every step of humanity, every triumph born of courage and intellect, had led to this moment. And yet, it was only the beginning. She walked forward, torch held high, feet sinking into sand scarred by the struggle. The robot followed, every servo humming in perfect synchronization. Behind them lay the remnants of alien power, shattered constructs, and a testament to human ingenuity. Before them lay the unknown, vast, perilous, and full of opportunity. Mara's heart surged with pride, not just in herself, but in humanity. Every flaw, every scar, every trial had forged her species into something extraordinary. Humans endure because they dared, because they thought, because they acted when others could not. They were not merely survivors. They were legends in the making. The stars above blinked, distant and indifferent, yet Mara felt their gaze, ancient and silent, as if witnessing a species rising beyond expectation. The desert stretched endlessly, but she did not falter. Humans had tamed deserts, conquered worlds, and now stood ready for the cosmos itself. The robot turned slightly, sensors scanning, ready to act, ready to defend, ready to follow wherever Mara led. She smiled, hand brushing against its frame, feeling the pulse of life and purpose she had instilled. Together, they represented something more than survival. They represented the unbreakable human spirit. Mara took a deep breath, inhaling dust, ozone, and energy, and whispered, "The universe underestimated humans. It will never do so again." The horizon glowed faintly with distant worlds, challenges yet unseen, and threats waiting beyond the stars. Mara felt a thrill she had never known, a mixture of anticipation and exhilaration. Humanity would face all of it. Alien fleets, ancient constructs, impossible odds, and they would endure, adapt, and triumph. The robot mirrored her stance, a sentinel of metal and intelligence beside a human who had dared, who had fought, who had prevailed. Mara raised her welding torch one last time, its flame dancing in the twilight, a beacon to the cosmos. Humans were here. Humans endured. Humans would rise. And somewhere in the vast and different universe, ancient powers paused, calculating, realizing that humans were not just flesh and blood. They were intellect, courage, and heart combined, a force that would endure, that would adapt, and that would leave its mark on stars, worlds, and civilizations alike. Mara inhaled deeply, feeling every pulse of the desert, every vibration in the sand, every resonance of the robot beside her. She had survived impossible odds, outsmarted alien intelligence, faced ancient powers, and turned fear into victory. She had proven humanity's worth to the cosmos.